So is the ancient art of rhetoric, persuasion, basically the same thing as the Buddhist idea of right speech? I mean, at first glance, they seem like they're from different planets. But today, we're going to dig in and see if these two powerful traditions might actually be aiming for the same thing. Let's get into it.
At the very heart of all this is a question people have been wrestling with forever. Are words a kind of magic? Can they actually shape reality and bring us closer together? Or are they just a sneaky tool for manipulation, for getting what we want from other people?
And you can see this tension perfectly right here. On one side, you've got philosophers like John Locke, who just flat out called rhetoric a powerful instrument of error and deceit. But then you have thinkers like Kenneth Burke, who saw it as this amazing tool for inducing cooperation. So which is it, a weapon or a bridge? To figure that out, let's look at two totally different ways of thinking about ethical communication.
All right, first up, the Western view. In the modern world, there's been this real push to kind of save rhetoric from its bad reputation by anchoring it in a really strong ethical foundation.
A huge figure here is the rhetorician Wayne C. Booth. He came up with this idea he called listening rhetoric. And for Booth, the goal of talking to someone isn't to win. It's not about scoring points. It's about genuinely, truly reducing misunderstanding by paying full attention to what the other person is saying.
So Booth draws this really clear line in the sound. On one side, you have what he called, and I love this word, rhetoricry. That's all the dishonest, manipulative junk that's designed to make a bad argument look good. But on the other side, you have listening rhetoric. That's where you have a trusting dispute, where both sides are actually listening to find common ground, to build something new together.
And for Booth, the ultimate endgame of all this is something he called rhetorology. This is the deepest level of the practice. It's about systematically digging for those shared assumptions, that common ground that can just end pointless arguments. The goal here isn't winning, it's achieving real mutual understanding.
Okay, now let's switch gears completely. We're going to jump from the Western goal of social understanding to the Buddhist goal of spiritual liberation. And trust me, this adds a whole new dimension to our question. You see, in the Buddhist tradition, speech isn't just for building community or sharing ideas. It's seen as a really powerful, intentional act. It's a form of karma, which means it has real, tangible consequences. So the one and only purpose of skillful speech is to help yourself and others get free from suffering. That's it. And this chart lays out the Buddha's incredibly strict filter for what you should say. For words to count as right speech, it's not enough for them to be true. Nope, truth is just the ticket to get in the door. They also have to be beneficial, meaning they actually help end suffering. And they have to be timely, spoken only when the other person is actually ready to hear it. Anything that doesn't pass all three of those tests, it's just idle chatter. And this idea of timeliness, man, it's so much more than just good timing. It's this deep, strategic calculation. You have to ask, is the speaker coming from a place of integrity? Is the message crystal clear? Is the listener even ready or able to hear this? What's the social context we're in? And maybe most importantly, will these words cause harm by puffing me up or putting someone else down? It's a really sophisticated way of looking at things.
And this brings us to that second filter, benefit. There's this famous story that captures it perfectly. The Buddha says, look, the truths I know are as numerous as all the leaves in this entire forest, but I only teach you the tiny handful that you can actually use to find freedom. The point isn't to show off how much you know, it's to give someone the exact tool they need for the job at hand.
So now we have these two really powerful ways of thinking about communication. One is all about mutual understanding, and the other is all about mental liberation. So what happens when we put them side by side?
First, let's put on our Western rhetoric glasses. If someone like Wayne Booth were to analyze the way the Buddha taught, what would he see?
Well, from Booth's point of view, the Buddha would be an absolute master of what he called rhetorical responsibility. Why? Well, first, his intention is pure. He's teaching from a place of sympathy, not to gain status. Second, his strategic adaptation is off the charts. He's like a doctor who diagnoses each person's unique sickness and gives them the exact right medicine. And finally, his standard for truth is completely functional. It's not about some abstract idea of truth, but about whether the teaching fits the person and functions to help them. Does it work? Okay, now let's flip the script. From a Buddhist perspective, where every word you say carries this immense karmic weight, how would they look at the whole discipline of rhetoric? There's this amazing analogy from the Buddhist tradition that just nails it. A speaker's words are like handing someone a jackhammer. You have an immense responsibility to make sure you guide them to break down the right barrier and not accidentally drill into a sewer main. With words that powerful, the potential to cause harm is huge, and the speaker carries that karmic responsibility.
So here's where it gets really interesting. We don't have to pick a side. We can actually blend these two perspectives into a new, more complete way of thinking about communication. Let's call it a rhetoric of release.
And this new approach starts by changing the kinds of questions we ask. Traditional Western rhetoric, coming from Socrates, tends to ask about whatness. It wants abstract definitions, like what is a bee? But a Buddhist rhetoric asks about whichness. It's all about utility, about a path forward. The question isn't what is stress, it's which actions lead me away from stress. It's radically practical. The perfect metaphor for this whole synthesis is the raft. Think of it like this. Language, ideas, even right view itself, they're all like a raft. You absolutely need this well-built, structured tool to get you across the dangerous flood of suffering. But once you get to the far shore, to liberation, you don't keep carrying the raft on your back. You let it go. The tool has done its job. And the ultimate enemy that this rhetoric of release is trying to defeat is a mental habit called papancha. This is that crazy cascade of thoughts that builds up a solid idea of me and mine, an identity that we then feel like we have to defend at all costs. This leads to what's called a thicket of views, to endless conflict and suffering. Skillful speech, then, is a tool to take that whole process apart.
So after looking at both of these profound traditions, what's the big takeaway? What is the ultimate purpose of all this talking and listening?
It all comes down to this. The true value of our words isn't how logical they are or how beautifully we say them. It's all about their fit and function. Does this particular thing I'm saying to this particular person at this exact moment actually work to create a positive mental shift? Does it lead them and me toward release? And really, this final thought just says it all. The whole point of discussion, the whole reason for listening, is for one singular, incredible purpose: the liberation of the mind through no clinging. Thanks for joining this explainer.